We all have our Christmas traditions. Some build snow persons and animals, others share time with family, sharing memories and meals. Yet there are those who go out to watch the Christmas trees or hiking and picnics. However, there are many of us who like to assemble with our loved ones to have a few chilled ones and watch a movie together. Depending on this intimate crowd of people, one may watch Die Hard, It's a Wonderful Life, Gremlins, or Miracle on 34th Street. Or maybe an adaptation of Charles Dickens' eponymous novella, The Christmas Carol. Now, if it's a Christmas film you're looking for, Richard Donner's 1988 film Scrooged starring Bill Murray is probably the best choice around. The film essentially follows the same story as the source material, and Bill Murray's character of Frank Cross is the perfect Grinch-In-Corporate-Clothing, who gets haunted by 3 twisted versions of the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Apart from everything Christmassy and moral lessons, there's also a badass Santa and cameos by Lee Majors, Paul Shaffer, Larry Carlton, among others. In this video, Binge Buddha will deep dive into the film and discover the reasons why Scrooged is perfect for your Christmas binge. Let's begin, shall we? The film revolves around Bill Murray as Frank Cross, a narcissist, cynical and selfish man and the president of a channel called IBC Television. Such was Frank's determination to succeed in his professional life that he would always ignore the well-being of others around him, especially his juniors, but he did care quite a bit for people of influence and wealth. For instance, he sent out shabby IBC towels to most people, including his younger brother, on his Christmas list but didn't shy away from giving out expensive VCRs to the people whom he thought he could use in the future. In a fine display of his selfish nature, Frank fired a junior named Elliot Loudermilk simply because the guy disagreed with Frank. Furthermore, he made all his staff work on Christmas Eve so that he could broadcast a grand adaptation of Charles Dickens's classic novella, A Christmas Carol, as a live broadcast. Frank couldn't realize that he wasn't just stealing away the happiness of his staff, but was also promoting the common people to get glued to their television screens on Christmas Eve, instead of socializing with friends and family. Later that night, Frank was shocked and horrified to witness the ghost of his former mentor, Lou Hayward. Lou appeared as a zombie-like entity with a rotten body and warned Frank to change his ways lest he wished to die a lonely and sad death, as Hayward did. Before vanishing, Hayward tells Frank that the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future would visit him. Anyway, Frank's boss Preston Rhinelander felt that Frank was under duress because of work pressure, so Preston brought in Bryce Cummings to help Frank for the live broadcast. However, Bryce secretly wanted Frank's job. At their meeting, Frank acted absurdly in anticipation of the ghosts and barged out of the restaurant after embarrassing himself, only to get into a cab being driven by the ghost of Christmas past, who took Frank on a trip down memory lane. Frank's memories about his rather grim childhood and his past love interest Claire are refreshed. Despite getting Claire, a woman who truly loved him, he let her go in favor of his professional success. The ghost of Christmas present came as a clumsy and rather violent fairy, which made Frank realize the beautiful things he was missing and how people strive towards making the best out of the little they had. While Frank's brother was hosting a humble but warm house party, Frank's assistant Grace struggled to support her large family, including her little son, who stopped speaking after his father's untimely death. Later, she takes Frank to a utility space under a sidewalk where Frank found the frozen corpse of a man who had asked Frank for merely $2 to heat up his place, a request that Frank had refused to honor. After managing to escape from the place, Frank found himself at his workplace, where Elliot Loudermilk was waiting to shoot down Frank. However, Frank got saved because of the ghost of Christmas future, who was apparently the Grim Reaper. Speaking of which, would you like to see a video about the various personification of the Grim Reaper as appeared in movies? Please let us know in the comments. The Grim Reaper took Frank on his most disheartening journey and showed him horrific future events that were directly, or indirectly Frank's doing. Claire had grown up to become a rich woman after taking Frank's selfish advice but looked at the homeless children with disgust, whereas she worked as a homeless shelter in the present. Grace's poor son had become catatonic and was beyond recovery, a situation that prevailed because of her lack of finances. Lastly, Frank witnessed his own funeral, but his brother and sister-in-law were the only attendees. The unique take on Mr. Dickens's ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. Director Richard Donner's vision about the aesthetics and outlook of the three ghosts that Charles Dickens created in his 1843 novella A Christmas Carol was increasingly novel and came as a breath of fresh air upon the film's release. According to Dickens's novella, the ghost of Jacob Marley appears in heavy chains and money boxes before a man named Ebenezer Scrooge. Marley tells Scrooge how he would meet the same fate as Marley's, lest Scrooge changes his ways. The character of Frank Cross is based on Ebenezer Scrooge and that of Lou Hayward on Jacob Marley. However, while Marley was bound in chains and other baggage that he earned in life, Hayward was more of a rotting pile of flesh. Secondly, the picturization of the three ghosts is also different in both versions. In the novella, the ghost of Christmas past appears young and old simultaneously and has a bright light streaming on its head. However, the film's first ghost is a shabby-looking taxi driver with stained teeth and skin so light that red veins could clearly be seen. Mr. Dickens's ghost of Christmas Present was a heavily bearded man who looked like Father Christmas. But, the film's ghost of Christmas Present was a fairy who loved hurting Frank physically. I mean, watch out for the scene in which she hits Frank with a damned toaster. However, she does represent the spirit of Christmas and acts as a mouthpiece for charity and warm relations. Although, the representation of the spirit of Christmas yet to come is the only one that's vaguely similar in both versions. In the film, it was represented as a Grim Reaper-styled entity that neither spoke nor displayed any emotions. However, like its appearance, the spirit showed Frank grim scenarios from the future, like the catatonic state of Grace's child and Frank's own unfortunate funeral. Frank Cross blurred the line between heroism and villainy because of his realism. We all know that the 90s was an era of extremes, and naturally, the latter part of the 80s paved the way for the same. During such a transitional era came this 1988 edgy, dark, and comical adaptation of Charles Dickens's classic. Director Richard Donner and his writers Mitch Glazer and Michael O'Donoghue created a surreal atmosphere to give Frank Cross a relatable and realistic personality, making him a worse version of Dickens's Mr. Bah Humbug. After his blockbuster film Ghostbusters, Bill Murray took a 4-year break but returned to get surrounded by three spirits of Christmas, because his character didn't have any Christmas spirit in life. Frank is definitely a workaholic, but more than that, he's a mean and selfish man who's smart enough to make you laugh at scenes that would make your conscience put you on Santa's naughty list. I mean, in one of the scenes, he suggested using staples on a mouse to stick antlers on its head. And then there's his absurd idea of airing a Christmas promotion that would suit better for Halloween. However, Frank is not all bad. As soon as the first ghost takes him on a time-traveling cab ride, Frank starts to show his softer side. By the end, he's a changed person who showers others with love and implores them to perform the miracle of charity. Especially beautiful is the last part of the film where he gives a long and moving speech that's full of fun and frolic. Scrooged is a timeless seasonal film. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was Donner's Scrooged. I mean, a film like John Carpenter's The Thing had bombed at the box office upon its release. But later on, critics and fans realized the beauty of the shape-shifting alien, and today, The Thing is considered a masterpiece of horror. Likewise, Scrooged was initially discarded for its dark comedy tone, something that's alien to a Christmas film. However, after several decades, Scrooged often finds itself on several esteemed lists that are dedicated to Christmas films. Bill Murray's Grinch-In-Corporate-Clothing can be found today in several professions of today's world. I mean, did you hear about the Better.com CEO who recently fired 900 employees over a Zoom call during the holiday season? Just like him, Frank Cross devastated the life and family of his employee Loudermilk. Another reason behind the timelessness of the film resides in the power that Charles Dickens's novella holds. Honest to source material. As discussed above, the film may be a retake on the classic piece of literature, but it remains grounded in terms of characters, undertone, themes, etc. From Jacob Marley to Tiny Tim, every character has been well represented in the film. But more importantly, the film goes a long way to depict the triumph of good over evil. And if that musical and warm ending doesn't satisfy you, there are plenty of other events, like an undead zombie bombarding the door of his former colleague and another employee storming the office of his ex-boss with a shotgun, and hell-bent on making the kill. Despite these events, the film is perfect if you're in the mood to spend Christmas at home with your family and friends. It certainly has something for everyone. That was all in this video, and if you wish to discover more of these hidden gems, please like and subscribe. It may be a tiny click from you, but we will be forever grateful. Also, let us know in the comments what you thought about this film. If there's something else you would want us to make a video about, we would be pleased.